Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is David Russell Jensen. I am the Development Officer here at Sealaska Heritage. I'm very pleased to introduce our lecturer this afternoon. Sealaska Heritage is committed to providing accessible community programming, but none of it would be possible without the support of donors. You can contribute online to Sealaska Heritage at sealaskaheritage.org/giving. Today, we're very pleased to have with us Robert Davidson, a renowned Haida artist who will discuss the old masters and the renaissance of Haida art. Davidson has spent more than 40 years as an artist and cultural leader, and his work has been featured in prestigious collections and galleries throughout the world, including the National Gallery of Canada, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, as well as his artwork graces the his monumental artwork graces our Walter Soboleff Building and Arts Campus. There's an opportunity for questions at the end of the lecture. If you're here in person, please silence your cell phones. Thank you and welcome, Robert Davidson.
Can you all hear me? Yes. Good. Good, all my parts. Today I want to explore the classic storage boxes. They are the foundation of many artists today who have studied them. And through studying these classic boxes from the museums, we are able to relearn the foundation of the Northwest Coast art. I'd like to use the term Northwest Coast art because we all use the same. I also like to use the term alphabet. When the alphabet, there are two main alphabets, the ovoid shape. It's a very beautiful shape. And when you look at that ovoid, the line is creating two spaces. So this is at one space, and this is the other space. In our terms, the inside of the ovoid would be positive, and what is left behind is negative. And I will be pointing out, I will be using certain words like proportion, proportion, magic proportions, positive, negative, movement, wow factor, energy. I gotta learn how to use this here. Which button do I use? I forgot to review that with you.
Just the key. That is a really good question. This is confusing. Gotta love technology.
Where's the other guys?
All right. We'll just go. So if you just click.
Okay.
So all you have to do is just click.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Yep.
So the other thing to watch for when I'm showing the classical boxes is to the inner line of the outer ovoid also is forming what Bill Home calls the formline. And then the other alphabet I talked about earlier is the U shape. And when you look at the bottom line, this space is usually narrower than as you come up, it thickens. And for the U shape, when it attaches onto the ovoid, it starts off thin, thick, thin. So that's and then from those two shapes, you can create almost absolutely any being, bird, animal, sea creatures, and the bottom of the ovoid determines the line of the mouth. This is one of the very earliest collected pieces in a museum, and you'll see that the form lines are quite heavy. They're very thick. And every line, when you look at the line, every line will direct the energy. For example, this line here comes off the eye socket of this being, and this line here follows down to create the head. And when it comes down, it actually forms the cheek of this being. Mouth, cheek, double eye. It's called a double eye. And here's what is called a salmon trout head, also named by Bill Home. The eye here, and you see this line helps to direct the energy around the eye. And this line here would be the beginning of a U-shape. Oops, I forgot to push my timer on. So the first 20 minutes don't count. Oops, now I want to go back. I forgot to get a workshop from you. Okay, thank you. An example of a very early box. These boxes were treasures up and down the coast. This would be, the way this box is formed would be like a cooking box or to cook the food. And there's a beautiful human here, the shoulder of the human, the hand, the rump of the human, and the hind foot. Same box on the other side. The back side of the box. Quite often the ovoids could be the joint in the rump of the bean. You see the cemetery head, when it comes down, this is the leg and the feet. I don't know what the meaning is behind the boxes, but there is an interpretation by one of the great artists, Charles Edenshaw, and the question was, what is the meaning of the box? And his answer was, it's good enough for any chief up and down the coast. It makes me believe that these boxes were trade items, and the artists, I know it was a trade item for the Haida, and so so when the chief or the new person who bought the box, they would give it a name. This is a very classical box. What I'm really intrigued about is how the integrity of the box was maintained from the beginning to the latter part of the 1800s. I say the latter part because many of them, the old masters, have died off, and there was a very long period of where the art went into almost decline. You could see the difference now between the first two boxes on how the form line is a lot more refined, and it has more arc, which creates more movement. And the classical formula is a large head, ovoid in the corners, and here is the body of the being, and the arm come down, hands. So when you look at the spaces here, they're all in balance to what is going on. It's all calculated. Pardon me, intuitively calculated. I like to think of in order to intuitively create, one has to draw these ovoids at least 10,000 times or put in 10,000 hours. And I'd like to encourage people to use the classical period as the build to learn the classical period, and then to do the exploration after that. Once you've learned the classical period, you will realize how much the art is so finely developed. In the creating spaces, this is one space here, and the shapes inside are, there must be at least 100,000 boxes in museums today, and when you put them side by side, there's no two equal to each other or the same. So here we have a beak coming down, the eye, and now I want to introduce this being here. I like to think of it as most woman. Most woman, the eye, dimple, and beak coming down. One of my favorite boxes. I mentioned most woman. When I look at all the boxes I've seen over the years, about 99% of the boxes have a most woman on them. And I like to think of it as the spirit of the being. And here we have an upside down most woman, the eyes, ears, and the beak, and a dimple. And there's two more on there. Can anybody point out the other two? Based on what I said? No? Speak up. This one here. And here. And here's a possible one. I like to think of this as most women looking at itself. Here we have the eye and the dimple, and here, when you look at it, the eye, dimple, and the mouth. The very classic salmon trout head has a mouth, nasal passage, a U shape, and the eye. So when that is drawn, you start off thin here, and as it comes up, it is in relation to the outer ovoid. It comes up and attaches onto the outer line here, and the top part of the mouth here, it helps to form the shape around the U, and the bottom part of the U shapes the form line around the eye. So there are 10,000 variations of salmon trout head, and I challenge the viewer to, the students to create 10,001. So here you can see it again now that you have an idea on what it looks like. There are many variations of the salmon trout head. And here we have another mouse woman. Here we have it again. The head I talked about earlier, and the body coming down. This is a killer whale. The killer whale head, mouth, the cheek I talked about earlier, the snout of the killer whale. And here we have an exaggerated blowhole of the split killer whale. And there's a human inside the blowhole, and the body of the human comes down here. Here we have mouse woman again. And here. And here. This is a beautiful box that's now in the museum in Chicago. One of the great surprises, I really love this one. I want you to pay attention to this side compared to the next slide. Here we have the head again of the bean, the mouth, and in one of the journals documented by Boaz, describing the trail cut blanket, he called this goggle. Half eye, it's kind of like an eye peeking out. The arm, the body of the being is the arms of the being. The claws, cheek, nostril, Kuganjet, most woman upside down. So here's the other side, what is kind of, instead of goggle, he used the full eye and the body. But in this case, he brings it down and creates this negative space. And to create that negative space, the joint in the claws become the eye, mouth, and snout. My friend, many of the boxes in the museums are very faded, and there's a person at UBC Museum in Vancouver. He did a lot of work on scanning them and to show a lot more detail, and this is one of them. Now we're seeing a little change in the development. The head is getting smaller, the body again, the head, and this could be a mouse woman here with the dimple. The cover of the book that Bill Home, he wrote a book on the analysis of Northwest Coast art. When I was learning to the formal part of the art form with Bill Reed, he asked me to read it, but the words were a little too complicated for me, so I just looked at the pictures. So what I showed you, the classical period, what I'm wanting to show is the art was always evolving. And when the anthropologists came in to document us, they put us in a time capsule. But when I look at the art form from the latter part of 1700 to the late 1800s, there's a definite progression. The art was always evolving. But what I find amazing is, as it was evolving, the new generation would always refer to the old masters behind them. And so what I found amazing about this person's work is he still worked within the box format, but he also introduced a new shape. So when I look at the art form is always within a given shape, but this person introduced a new shape within that given shape. And in studying this person's work, it helped me to go beyond the classical period. Another side of the same box. And Bill Reed called it Master of the Black Field. Here we have it's really neat to watch how the energy is all directed. When I look at this, I think of this should be like that, but it doesn't. He introduced a whole bunch of other beings. Here's the eye, what could be a feather, mouth, Koganjut, human. And the other thing about this artist is he designed within that new space, or else he overlapped. So these are illustrations of other Blackfield. You know, I actually work better when there's interaction. If anybody has any thoughts or questions, rather than wait till the end of the talk, I'm open to it. No thoughts? Okay. If you do have a question, I'm open to it.
There were some that were coming in online. Would you like me to read those now?
Sure.
From Une Lance Twitchell, can you tell us why one side of a box might have salmon trout eyes with softer edges and the other has a double eye with harder edges?
Which one are they referring to?
I believe it was several slides back. I don't know which one specifically right now.
Could they reword the question?
Can you tell us why one side of a box might have salmon trout eyes with softer edges and the other side has a double eye with harder edges?
On the fronts of the boxes, they had the double eye, and on the back side, it was a single eye. Sam showed it, if that's the question.
I think he's wondering why that might be.
Pardon me?
He was wondering why that box might have that with a single eye versus.
I have no idea. Many of these boxes were in a whole different time period, like the mid-1800s, and their thinking was totally different from us today. Other questions?
There was another one online. Are there terms for the parts of formline design in Haida from long ago? Have new terms been made today to describe the art in Haida language?
There are terms, but unfortunately the terms didn't survive in the Northwest Coast formline that I know of. So the terms we use today, many of them were from the Bill Home analysis of form book. And there's one shape that I forgot about to point out. The one shape it's a trineg. I like to think of it as it's a 3-point shape right here. See this trineg, it directs the energy around the ovoid here. It also directs the energy around the form line here, and it has a little connector here. So I like to think of, I gave it that name, but my friend Steve Brown, he gave it another name called trigon. And he said he got the name from me. I don't know what trigon means, so. If anybody else has any more thoughts. I was at a lecture with Wilson Duff, who did a lot of work with in Northwest Coast Art, and the lecture was focused on that the being I talk about as Mouse Woman. And, but he called it Mighty Mouse. And I didn't like the name, so I gave it that name, Mouse Woman, Kuganjat. And it's one of the supernatural beings within the Haida stories. Yes? Oh no. So maybe that's another new term. I'm sure other people have names too, but I haven't heard them. I've included a few other objects outside of the form line for you to appreciate how much integrity our ancients had in the art form, in anything that they manufactured, anything they created. It was with so much care. This is a model of a canoe. When you look at the gunwale is the line coming down the top edge of the canoe. It has a beautiful line. There's no kinks in it. It just has an absolute beautiful line. And the bow of the canoe is here. And this is what Kitlajaway, we call that Kitlajaway. It's the part that breaks the water. And it also is painted, but even inside has a beautiful detail in it. So what I learned from Bill Reed, like in making my tools, he said, make sure you do a good job because you can be using it for a long time. And I feel the same is true with the boxes, the canoes, whatever was used. This is an absolute beautiful bowl. It has all the shapes of Northwest Coast art, Haida art. When you look at the mouth, the opening, it's so, I like to think of the bowls echoing the shape of the canoe. Here we have the beaver head, eye, nostril, mouth, the teeth, the forearm of the beaver arm, holding a stick, and the hind feet, leg, and the tail is made into a raven. There are at least 10 bowls made by the same person in the museum at the McCord Museum in Montreal. And they were collected from Skadance, a village south of the southern part of Haida. Same artist. Yep. Yes? Yeah, these are all wood. They're all wood bowls. And because it's been used over many times, it actually is coated in grease, like salmon oil or fish oil. So these bowls in the museum right now, I know for a fact that when they were collected, they were clean bowls. And because wood is, the nature of wood is to shrink as it dries. So having been in storage for decades, the wood as it shrinks, it squeezes out the oils. So rather than having a flat top here, the person created a shadow line. The raven, lower beak, upper beak, inside is human, and down the side is the wing of raven, and raven again in the tail of this raven and the feet. The ovoids, I was told, the hollow part is the socket, and the ball part here is the ball of the joint. So it's almost like an X-ray. Whatever what the ovoid would be, the joint in the feet. The same here, the joint in the feather, in the wing. Whoops. Well, I have to go back again. Another bowl. This shows more of the influence of the canoe. The part of the canoe I called about the part that breaks the water, and the bow of the canoe is the head of a raven. It's in the shape of a bowl. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You have to speak up. Yes? The bowls are a lot more labor intensive. It takes a little longer. This bowl would probably take about 3 weeks to make the bowl, and to engrave the sides would take about, let me see, 2 weeks on each side. So we're looking at 5 weeks. Yes? Where what? Oh, that's wormholes. That probably was found in a vacant house. There was a period where many of the Haidas died off so fast that the houses were left vacant. So this may have been collected from a vacant house years after the people left. So after the people left, then the worms take over. Yes? Very good. For something utilitarian, you need a harder wood, like alder or maple. A red cedar or a yellow cedar would not hold up well for something that's used daily. These kids are asking all the questions. Where are the adults? I don't think it grows big enough for something like this. I know crabapple was used for the adze handle. You had a question here? Nope. I love the detail of this canoe bowl. My friend, a beautiful chocolate blanket, which follows the formula of formline. What I've found is every medium develops its own style. So when you look at the Shellcat, it has, I can't speak very much about it because I don't know the process of creation, but there is a challenge, very much like the wood has its certain challenges. It's a beautiful cape, a head, ears, negative space but made into a U shape, double U shape, body, arms, could be fins, the hind part of the bean, claws, legs. Some of these take about a year to create, is one story I've heard. What is exciting here at Celebration, it's very exciting to see all the old weavings come out during Celebration. So I'm moving into my work. A drum. Formline, the beak of the eagle. The wing. Eye, feather, and the nasal passage of the eagle and the nostril. If you look at that human here and imagine the arm coming through here to these hands, and eagle, again, inside the joint of the wing, but the hands, the arms, and the feathers. And here we have goggle. And the cross-hatching here is to symbolize the beak of eagle. Yes? I didn't make this drum, but I made quite a few drums, and then I would paint it, paint the design. Quite often more as inspiration rather than a request. In this time period, it probably take me 1 week to paint it. Yes? Did you all hear the question? Could you say it louder, please?
I said, how long would you have to trace it?
Over the years, I made many blanket designs, and I used what's called a template. A template, I would cut the design out in paper, and these were designs for my aunties, and it really helped me to develop the use of trace templates with brown butcher paper. And so I would draw the design on paper and cut it out. And then I would trace the design onto the drum. And to prepare painting, before you paint the drum, it's important to sand it because there's a thin layer of fat on the skin. And I found that if you don't sand it, then the paint scrapes off quite easy. So when you take off the oil of the skin, the paint actually penetrates the skin better. So I'm getting a lot more abstract, less figurative. Here's a killer whale, large ovoid as the head, the mouth. Actually, this I call what I talked about earlier, trineg. So this is the trineg. Here. And see what they do. The trineg directs your energy. So the bottom part of the eye could be the top part of the mouth. And here, this wide space here is the tail of the killer whale. And the eye is inside the flukes. Pectoral fin coming down. Gorgon jut. Dorsal fin. The exercise here was to use all three colors for formline. So if you look at the white part here as formline, and the black formline, and the red formline. Yes?
There was an online question. How many master artists have you learned from, and what would you say to those who would like to choose this path for a living?
Ooh, good question. I've had many teachers. First and foremost, my dad and my grandfather. And when I went to the city from Masset, I met several other masters, namely Bill Reed and Doug Cranmer. And before going to the city, my carving was very immature, very uncertain. It was that time period where in Masset there were only 5 argillite carvers, and they were mimicking. My grandfather was, I think, the best. He had an idea on what it should look like sculpturally, but the flat design was not there. So when I look at my early pieces, in fact, when I was learning from Chinny, my grandfather, and my dad, when I'd show my work to Chinny, he'd be laughing, and I really enjoyed that he laughed at my work. But now some of those argillite pieces are showing up to me. I could see why he was laughing. So, and the main teachers after them was these boxes that I showed you, that I'm showing today. Doug Cranmer and Bill Reed taught me to look at the old masters and how to look at them. And in knowing how to look at them helped me to practice So what I was doing was copying. And the more I copied, the better I felt I was improving. So I feel for the novice or beginning artist, it's once you make a commitment for this to be your lifelong work, all the doors start to open up. There's a lot of magic in commitment. Another grizzly bear, try an egg, which helps to form the mouth, the teeth of the grizzly bear. The bottom line of the ovoid comes right through to the nostril. Another try an egg, which helps to form the bottom of the grizzly bear mouth. But it also helps to break up the negative space here. Fast bird. We have feathers here, the eye, and what could be a beak, and the U shape would be the negative space. I've heard it by one artist that Northwest Coast art is very limiting, but I like to respond to that. You're only limited by what you set out to do. Like I feel once you've mastered the foundation of the old masters, it's absolutely limitless. It's a really exciting art form, and every time I feel once you've mastered the art form, then intuition kicks in. Like when I'm creating, I don't go out to say I'm going to make a sea monster, I'm going to go make a raven. I'll doodle and let the cosmos speak. So in that sense, I'm a reciprocal to where the ideas are. So the artist brings from the cosmos into this realm. And I find that a very exciting journey. Spruce root hat, frog. This is called a flying frog, borrowed from the Tsimshian. The thin lines are another frog in the negative space. Dragonfly, the head, body, wings, and another dragonfly on top. Backside. Eagle. Butterfly. Has anybody seen the proboscis of a butterfly? Great. I was pretty excited when a butterfly landed on my hand and the proboscis was coming out, poking my hand. It twirls up, and then when it comes out, it straightens out. the last gold bracelet I created for an artist from England, and he was really taken by death, so he wanted a death theme. Salmon, mouth, dry neck, snout, I keep putting too much pressure on the keyboard. That's all right. We only have a few minutes here. The last carved panel that I made, it took about 2 months of carving. It's about 30 inches by 40 inches. We are in the time period where a lot of the atrocious acts instilled on our people, my parents and grandparents' generation, through the residential school, and I'm sure it's the same up here. And this is one of my statements. It's time to dry the tears. When I was carving this, I had the tears coming down. Then I started realizing, hey, this is supposed to be drying the tears. So I shortened the tears. The front part of the box, of the sculpture. Anybody have any thoughts? I wasn't that thorough, was I? Yes?
Maybe this is the part of the change and how this is evolving, our art is evolving, but I'm noticing a lot of feathers being put in marine mammals. Is that something that needs to be addressed? Is that just something the artist puts in there? Because I don't see it in the old form.
The feathers, maybe it's not feathers, it could be fins. I know sometimes we look at we carve what looks like a grizzly bear, but if it has fins on it, then it makes it into a sea bear, opposed to feathers. But I can't comment on that unless I see it. But I know there's a big movement going beyond the form line, and it's kind of like a different movement where it's more the Western thought is creeping in, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what I really encourage those who want to do form line to study it and master it, and once you've mastered it, you don't want to throw any Western thoughts into it because it's so profound. The art is so profound, so highly developed, and there is unlimited images that, in fact, the master of the Black Field, when I went back, there was a period where I felt I was recycling my ideas. So I went back to look at the old masters and focused on Master of the Black Field, and this person is the one who helped me to go beyond form line, but still based in form line. Yes? No rush. Okay. Yes?
I never got to do formline, but when I first met Abel Ryan, he taught me a way how to do it, and I kept on doing it every day, and I got better at it, and now I like do it every day now in class.
Well, good for you. Thank you. Yes?
I remember when he said, what's the hardest animal you've done in formline?
The hardest animal I've done in formline. I carved this killer whale sculpture, and there was a lot of really intricate cuts in it. And I had a showing with some clients, and Bill Reed was there. And I exposed myself, and I said to the clients, I said, yeah, this was really tough to make. And Bill Reed said, tough for some people. So I chose not to use that term anymore. Yes?
When you're going to make a three-dimensional object, you do a flat representation first?
No. Many of the pieces I have that I've created lately these were offcuts from the totem poles I've carved over the years. And they're more self-inspired. One of the great lessons from Chinny, my grandfather, he said, even when you don't have orders, keep working. And that's what I've been doing. Yes?
Thank you, Robert, for your lesson today. We learned a lot. You talked about learning how to look at formline, and we really appreciate that. It sounds like it's a real shift in our mindset and non-Western ways of viewing art, so I appreciate that. I didn't know if you had any other comments or suggestions for us here when we're looking, at our art.
Yeah, once you start looking at formline from what I talked about, it becomes addictive. So you don't have to worry about going down that road. I've been doing formline since I was probably 18 years. So that's 60 years now. And I still find it fascinating on the possibilities, even though I'm where I'm at. And also to see how the old masters of Charles Edenshaw, for example, and people from his generation, I'm still learning from people like them. So to prepare for today, it was really a nice exercise to look at the old masters again. Yes?
I thought it was a lot of fun, but one thing I got taught is to draw always over and over again.
Way to go. Way to go. That's it. Yes?
You said about masculine.
Pardon me?
You said about masculine on boxes, there was only 9%. Why is that?
What kind of help?
Is it on the boxes, there's only 9% of the masculine novel? Why is that only 9%?
Yeah, if you copy from the old masters, you won't go wrong. So the old masters, the boxes that I've shown here is only a sampling of what is in the museums today. For example, the museum in Chicago has 25,000 pieces of Northwest Coast art in their collection. It's a lot of art, and that's only one museum. Yes?
What's your favorite?
My favorite animal with formline? Actually, I don't have a favorite, but my favorite is always the one I'm working on.
Well, are there any last questions? Or any closing words?
For me? Or
If you would like to.
can someone else do it?
Thank you.
No, I'm very grateful for being invited here. It's always a challenge to go from carving to putting words together. I'm always fascinated by people like Terry Lynn, who gave a presentation yesterday on how she can put the words together, and it takes me a while to warm up to it, and I can. It's the visuals that trigger thought for me, and I know once you have once you learn the foundation of the art form, you will never look back. And what I've talked about here, it will help you to appreciate what is being created in the galleries. And also you'll even become a critic. Which is not, it's good.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.